Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. You're watching Arba'een Q&A. I'm your host, Muzaffar Hyder. Here in the studio today we have with us Sheikh Ali. Sheikh Ali, it's a pleasure to have you here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So my question for you today here exclusively on Wilayah TV is what is Arba'een? And I know it might sound like a little bit of an obvious question, but there are people out there and many newcomers to the Shia school of thought, and I'm sure that there's curiosity about what the word Arba'een means, especially in these days where there's lots of hype and everybody knows that Arba'een is coming, Arba'een is coming. What is it?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. As you know that Muharram, the month of Muharram, is when we commemorate and we remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Sayyid al-Shuhada, the martyr of the martyrs, Imam Hussein. He was martyred on the plains of Karbala. He had a movement that he was leading. He had a mission. The cruel enemy, they martyred him for standing up for truth and justice. After the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the men, almost all of the men, they were martyred as well on the same day when Imam Hussein was martyred. Then the ladies and Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, they were taken as captives and they were taken to Syria, they were taken to Sham at the time, where Yazid, he had announced his governance. So these captives, they were taken, they were kept in Sham for a while. These captives returned from Sham to Medina on the 40th, and that's why Arba'een, the word Arba'een, is in Arabic, it means the 40th. Now it's the 40th day after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, which is on 10th of Muharram. So after 10th of Muharram till the 20th of Safar, if you add up, these are 40 days. So this is why it's called Arba'een. The 20th of Safar is called Arba'een. According to narrations, Jabir bin Abdullah Ansari, he was one of the companions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he arrived from Medina to Karbala on that same day. Okay, why did he go there? To visit the graves of Shuhada, to pay homage and tribute to these Shuhada who were martyred on the plains of Karbala. So this is basically what Arba'een is. Now, over the course of time, the believers, they started to visit these Shuhada to pay gratitude to them. Why? Because they sacrificed their lives for Islam. So all the Muslims from all around the globe, in different times, if you go through the history, they visit Karbala, they go to the graves of these martyrs, and they remember what they did. This particular visitation happens on the Arba'een every year, which is the 20th Safar every year. Okay, people go, they visit these martyrs, and they recite Ziyarat Arba'een, for instance, which has been narrated, and as Imam Askari alayhi salam, who's the 11th infallible Imam, he has said that there are 5 signs of a mu'min, a believer. One of them is the recitation of Ziyarat Arba'een.
Wow.
So if you're a believer, if anybody who's listening to our show is a believer, they should know that this is what entails for them on the day of Arba'een, that they have to recite Ziyarat Arba'een and remember the martyrs of Karbala, especially Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
Sham, where is that exactly? I mean, in the modern world?
Well, basically, if you look at that time, the entire area that, because the Muslim Caliphate was spread out over regions, we didn't have these concepts of countries back in the day. So Sham at that time would entail Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, all of that we have today, that would be part of Sham.
They often refer to it as Syria, modern day Syria.
Modern day Syria is specifically Sham, and that's where Sayyida Zainab Salamun Alaiha is, right? Back in the day, this whole region, the Levant region, that would be referred to as Sham.
Fascinating. We'll come back to this with some thoughts, inshallah, right after the break.
How how can we forget Zainab? Zainab, how can we forget? Like her pain no one's got, and no one will ever give. We should have learned from Zainab. 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 She went through so much grief, like it nothing is compared. How can I say that others would be living scared? Scared they will be when they stand, shaking with the guilt they share, sharing every piece of guilt. Guilt that's from the Lord is set. We should have learned from Zainab. 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 Learn from Zainab and you will know how you can sacrifice. Sacrificing for Allah is the only thing that's wise. Wise you will be with no doubt. When your soul to God will rise, rising from the 6 feet down, saved we hope by heaven's net. We should have learned from Zainab. We should have learned from Zainab. We should. Ayyub's patience is so great. Zainab's patience is greater, greater than Prophet Yaqub. Zainab's life was much harder, harder than the Mount Yalmul. Zainab's heart is much stronger. She's the daughter of Hyder. Zainab, how can we forget? We should have learned from Zainab. We should have learned from Zainab. We should.
Welcome back, dear viewers. We were just discussing about the meaning of the word Sham and the meaning of the word Arba'een. So we said that Sham is in modern day Syria, but back then it was actually a wider region.
It was a wider area.
It was the Levant.
According to some historical books, there might be difference of opinion there when it comes to historians and how the geography is laid out, but this is what I read somewhere, that it's a bigger area than what we have today, known as Sham.
So you mentioned that people will go to pay tribute to the heroes, the martyrs of the past. Can you shed some more light on this concept of going and paying our respects? And if you could discuss a little bit there about tawassul and the concept of tawassul.
Well, when we talk about anybody who sacrifices anything for a cause, they become significant. Even if you look at different countries at national levels, they're national heroes, right? If you look at their history, why did they become national heroes? Because they sacrificed something for their country, right? In Islam, when it comes to Islam, the divine religion of Islam, when somebody gives a sacrifice in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he lays down his life, when he gives any sort of sacrifice for religion, they become significant. So if throughout the history you look at all of our imams, they, one after another, they kept giving sacrifices for Islam, right? And in this case, they all got martyred. 11 of our imams are martyred. Now, these sacrifices, when they give these sacrifices, people naturally see that, okay, they have done something outstanding for who? For the cause, for the religion of Allah.
It's right to remember it. It's right to...
It's their right upon our neck and upon our shoulders to remember them, to talk about them. And more so, not just about them, about their struggle, about their movement. What were they up to? Why did they give all these sacrifices?
And to
these
try
are
to
all the
walk on their
questions that,
path.
exactly.
Right.
These are all the questions that come to one's mind as soon as they see that, okay, we're going to pay tribute. Why are we paying tribute to this person? What has he done? Right? What was his cause? And then once you get to the depth of it, there's an automatic feeling from deep down inside that, okay, I got to tread this path because this is the divine path.
SubhanAllah. I mean, that's the key of Islam. That's the Surah Fatiha. That's the whole message of it, right? Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Guide me to the right path. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. The path upon those, the path of those upon whom Allah has bestowed His bounties and favors. And the Ahlul Bayt and these heroes are nothing other than that. They are
the
those.
epitome of that.
They are the epitome
They're
of
the
that,
manifestation
subhanAllah,
of this ayat, and they're the mistaq of this ayat. So, you know, you go and you pay tribute. And the idea is that it becomes part and parcel of your own lifestyle. That you start living a life on the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, on the path of Imam Ali alayhi salam, on the path of Imam Hassan alayhi salam.
Sheikh, we're running out of time, but I really want to go into this. This part of it I can really understand, trying to walk on the path of the Ahlul Bayt and the path of these heroes. And I believe it's Ziyarat Ashura where we say, Allahumma ja'al mahyaya mahya Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa mamati mamata Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, make my life the life of Muhammad and his al, and make my death the death of Muhammad and his al. Okay, so I can understand that, walking in their path, but in about a minute, would you be able to shed a little bit of light on the concept of tawassul now, because it's a slightly different concept.
Right. So basically, if you look at walking their path, that's in its own place. Now, also at the same time, you know, you've got your own existence that is supposed to be excelling and going towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are supposed to be attaining that proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For that, you need to pray to Allah. For that, you need to connect to Allah. And you know, and every one of us know, that we're not closer to Allah right now. We're not closer to Allah than Prophet. Prophet was more closer, right? Imam Ali alayhi salam was more closer. Imam Hassan was more closer. Imam Hussain was more closer. Why? Because of their taqwa, because of their piety. Now, what you do is, you say that, okay, I'm going to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to call these personalities to help me do my shafa'at in front of Allah. Help me to get that proximity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because they're near to them. They're near to Him, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we are calling upon these personalities to assist us on this path. And this is what precisely tawassul is. We are using them as a wasila, as a means. Just like Allah used them as a means to get to us.
Right.
Right?
Just as I'm using
Allah could have guided
as a wasila
guided
right
us,
now.
you know,
Yeah.
programmatically, but no.
Just
Allah
as
subhanahu wa ta'ala.
myself and the viewers, in fact, are using you right now as a wasila gain a little bit more knowledge. That's, I guess, the rule of the universe. Is the way Allah has created things.
Right. Even Allah, when it comes to Him reaching us, He came through His prophets, messengers, and He came to us through His imams, or even through Quran, which is His book. Quran is not Allah, right?
It's a wasila.
It's just a wasila, it's just a means, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, when we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we use the means that Allah has created. And this is where, inshallah, one of these days, if we can talk about this whole concept, we cannot come up with our own means. That's something that is not allowed. Right? And this is where people went wrong. This is where the confusion begins. We're not allowed to create our own means. We're allowed and we're
recommended.
Would become shirk. Exactly, that would become shirk. This is recommended and allowed and actually asked of us to use the means Allah has created for us. Like for instance, if I use this tongue to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this tongue is a mean. Allah has given me this mean. Allah wants me to use it for what? Doing zikr of Allah, remembrance of Allah. Right? Similarly, eyes. All of these things are means.
But then when a human being, that's the definition kind of an idol. It's something that you create with your own hands.
That's why we said, you don't create it. The ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, you use them.
Allahu Akbar.
There's a significant difference. Right? Allah has created Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salam, to be that source, to be that proper means for us to be able to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Dear viewers, I do realize that we dived a little bit deep into the discussion there, but I have hope that you did benefit from it, inshallah. Dear Sheikh, it's a pleasure to have you and an honor.
Thank you.
Jazakallah for coming.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, if you do have any questions or queries at all, do feel free to contact us on the contact details coming up on the screen right now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.